Hi, this is Karen White of Divine Time Astrology, and I'm here with Channing Ayers of Asheville Vedic Astrology. And today you will learn how your relationship capacity, as seen in your birth chart, can rapidly improve through the application of attachment theory. Even if you haven't taken any of the attachment styles quizzes, like in the books or in yourpersonality.com, you can still learn a lot about your relationship capacity today because we will be analyzing birth charts. I've only been reading about attachment styles for maybe a little under a month, and I'm already seeing an amazing improvement in how I'm handling my anxious feelings with my husband. So I urge you to go to yourpersonality.com and take the attachment survey or read the recommended books and watch yourself rapidly improve your relationship capacity. Hi, Jenny.
Hi, Karen.
So how are you today?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Glad you're here again. So I'm going to share my screen. And remember, you were going to tell a few little stories about yourself, too.
Oh, I was going to say, last week we were talking about Venus and the moon aspects, and, what that brought up for me was, I remember hearing the first time I heard about the moon and Venus's avastas, and Venus getting starved by the moon. And I think I cried for like a couple of hours because it was really the first time that had been explained to me. And I mean, I was, in a Western astrology family. And so I knew about the Vedic and I was studying the Vedic. But when I finally found the avastas, that's where it really kind of sunk in. And I realized that my moon is throwing a full aspect onto my Venus. And in the Western, there's people would say, oh, that's no problem. Venus and the moon, they're two benefic planets. They're gentle. But yeah, I related to what that felt like. I related to the sensitivity, the really strong sense. Like, I would meet somebody and we would have a really strong connection, and then I wouldn't hear from them, or they wouldn't text me, or we'd start talking and then they'd be busy, and I would just get so anxious. This was part of the anxious style of attachment, is I would make up stories in my mind about how they didn't want to be with me anymore, they didn't want to talk to me anymore, they were avoiding me, or and then I'd finally hear from them and they were just doing life, busy like we all are.
Yes.
I can remember feeling so hurt, I would just go down so quickly, and understanding the avastas of that aspect, and also getting into the attachment style, really explains why I might be wired towards that. I mean, understanding the style has really helped push me more towards being secure. When I test now, it comes out more secure. So I do think that we can work through these things, but I don't think it happened overnight.
Yeah.
It would happen through just bringing it up into my consciousness, using astrology to say, hey, wait a minute, so it's explained a lot.
Yeah, you kind of cut out there for a moment.
No.
Yeah, let me see, where were you? Well, basically, you talked about how the astrology explained a lot, and then the attachment stuff really filled in the blanks, too.
Yeah, it did. And I mean, it's not an overnight process. It has to come up again and again so you can see it. It's like once you get a reading, once you really get something in your chart, then you start doing the work on it. It's not an overnight process. It takes time, and it takes a willingness for it to come up into your consciousness so that you're willing to look at it honestly.
Yes. And so, in other words, every time something comes up in a relationship, which it inevitably will, over and over and over again, you get a chance to really experience that and try new things. So yeah, I remember reading, I got the capacity report, which, by the way, I have on my website, but it's the Vedic capacity report. And I recommend people get that too, because it gives you an idea what your capacity is. But remember that it can't do a comprehensive look at your birth chart, but it does focus on certain main things in the chart. Anyway, and it said to me at the end of it that basically I was closed to love. I was like, what? So that was kind of like a shock to me. And yeah, astrology has been very much I guess you could call it an awakening process. Seeing yourself with the certain kind of objectivity that you get when you are studying astrology. Though at first, it can be upsetting. But the thing you need to remember is that while the birth chart doesn't really change, we do. We evolve, we change. And that's what I like about the attachment stuff. You can take a test, a quiz, and find out where am I now on the spectrum, now that I've had this workout this past year. So, yeah. Okay, so we're going to start with Maria. We have two Marias today. So this is Maria number 1. And she told us that she tested out as avoidant. Now, she took the test on yourpersonality.com, and they have other descriptive words too that we're not going to really get into too much here. So we're going to try to keep it simple. But for her, it's fearful avoidant. So now she's had her father was very abusive, and her first important relationship too was not nurturing. You know, there were lots of painful experiences in there. So honestly, I can kind of understand that. It sounds like a kind of a healthy response to me. Mm-hmm. But now she's been working on it for a long time. She's been in Al-Anon for a long time, and other adult children of alcoholics. She's grown so much since I've known her. She's like my hardest working client. She really dives in. She does. She really knows how to use astrology. It's wonderful. It's wonderful working with her. And I just love seeing her flourishing, you know. She's just doing so much better now. It's wonderful. So I'm telling you that just so that you know. Just because the moon always stays in Scorpio your whole life in your birth chart doesn't mean you cannot evolve. You want to start, Channing?
Well, you know, we can see her Mars, which is her ascendant lord, going into the 11th house in the sign of Aquarius with her sun. So there's an agitation aspect with the sun and Mars both there, and neither of them look like they're in good dignity. So they're beating each other up. They're sort of agitating each other. That sun and Mars, they're together. So this can just have an effect on her with her social relationships because it's happening in the 11th house. You know, just, and it's her ascendant lord and it's her sun. And her sun, you know, is guiding and directing her. It's her Atmakaraka. It's her highest degree planet and is there with Mars. So there's this element of the Mars being infused in with the sun. Aquarius, she's at 29 degrees of Aquarius. So there's an aspect of this transformation in that degree. You know, in the Western astrology, they consider that 29 degree mark a really special degree because it's moving, it's getting ready to move right over into the next sign. So the theme of Aquarius and the Gemini is that overcoming of any sort of deeper psychological issues. It's really working on letting those kinds of things go. So, well, there's a lot of this theme, you know, the theme of transformation in her chart. We've got this 29 degree Aquarius sun showing that one of the themes in her life, got the cat on my lap, sorry. Let me start. She just jumped right in my face. Oh my goodness. Okay. So one of the themes of her chart looks like it is transformation process. There's the moon in the 8th and in Scorpio, and then the sun at that last degree of Aquarius, getting ready for that jump, that leap over into Pisces, right?
Yes.
Letting go of old stuff, letting go of any baggage, letting go of any psychological limitation. And so this person's life is actually going to push her towards having to let go of these things.
Very interesting. Of course, what I'm focusing on is the moon, because it's in Scorpio, its most vulnerable sign, and it's in the 8th house, which is the house of fears, and she's very psychically sensitive too, as you would imagine. But this moon has been what she's been focusing on for quite a while now, and learning how to let her feminine side show through more, to let herself be vulnerable, and to stay in her true feelings, which is something I greatly admire about her, because the moon in the 8th house by itself is not an easy thing at all. You do have to overcome a lot of fears when you have it there, and then having it in Scorpio in the 8th house is another, hurdle in terms of overcoming fears and doing things in spite of fear. So this, I think, is what really explains the fearful avoidant attachment style. But like I said, she's a really hard worker. As you can see here, these 2 planets, right? Mars with the Makaraka. Let me see, over here too, in the Navamsha, she has it in Gemini. And she loves to study. You see here that Jupiter is opposite her sun too. And she's got a nice Jupiter. She loves knowledge, she loves to study. She actually is a healer herself. She's quite an amazing healer. She's a homeopath too. So,
is that the Rahu sun in her Navamsha?
Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
So there it goes. And then, let me see, the moon is in Virgo here, which is not a bad placement for it. And the sun gives it some stability. Also here, too, with the moon, Jupiter and Mars gives it a focus. When there are no planets on either side of the moon, then the moon has a harder time. It just has a harder time with moon things.
Right, Kamadrama.
Yeah, exactly. But it's canceled, thank goodness, by Jupiter and Mars. So these are parts of her consciousness too. And this Jupiter here is in Pushya, the nakshatra Pushya. Very nurturing. Very nurturing. So so with the sun being the Atmakaraka, which she's working with, is trying not to be the self-sacrificing, over-giving female, because it doesn't get her a good deal from men. And so the big challenge is being emotionally secure, but through vulnerability and taking risks. And it takes a lot of courage. And she's got that. She's got that courage with that Mars.
Mars.
She's amazing.
It's pushing her through. It's pushing her through all the stuff, and that moon in Scorpio is also in the 8th house. Is why she's learning a lot from astrology. Why that's going to be nourishing and nurturing to her to understand those 8th house type of things. Right.
So let me see. Venus and the moon, they do aspect each other. But it's only 22 points out of 60, so it's not too bad. But one of the things that she's been learning in the 12-step programs is just a very fundamental thing, super fundamental. One of the things, the first thing they teach you is to mind your own business and to figure out what that actually is. What does that mean to mind your own business? And to stay in your own stuff, like work on yourself and not worry about working on your partner. And by working on yourself, you leave a lot of room for your partner to do what needs to be done. And So that is like the thing that she's been learning with her Mars, with the sun.
Well, I see she's also in a Mercury dasha right now, too.
She is, and it's here in the 12th.
That Mercury is going to be all about learning how to roll with things and go with the flow and be okay with letting things go. It's in the 12th house. It's
right.
Having a hard time in the sign of Pisces, right? So
it's helped by Saturn, though. Look, Saturn and Mercury combinations they really are good combinations.
Yeah, they are. Saturn's a great friend to Mercury.
Like, I know she's in a management position at her job, which is what a Mercury thing does. What Mercury's management, and then Saturn really helps her to do that, in spite of the fact that it's in Pisces. Though I have to say, she is what Mercury in Pisces is good about is grasping concepts. And it's with K2. I like the way you talk about the Rahu K2 stuff. What would you say about being with K2?
Well, I would just say that there's a very spiritual aspect to this. There's a deeper understanding. Excuse me. When you get K2 with Mercury, and it's not with any other planets there. Mercury is one of the more resilient planets when it's with the nodes. So it doesn't get as confused by being with the nodes. So that Mercury K2 is really giving a very strong spiritual slant, a very strong aspect towards that 12th house type of, it could be working with foreign people in the 12th house as well, because Mercury is business and management and that kind of thing. But I see it as willing to move through things, willing to let things go, a willingness to, or learning how to really roll with things.
Yeah, there's something I wanted to do too, is to talk a bit about the future. Like, for instance, when Jupiter goes into Sagittarius, it's going to be in her 9th, and it's going to be aspecting Mercury. And Jupiter is a manifesting planet, so is Mercury. And so Mercury, let me see, it rules the 3rd and the 6th, so it's not specifically a love planet. Or activating love houses in her chart. But Jupiter, the natural ruler of husband for a woman, and her particular Darakaraka, husband planet, it is going to be aspecting that. And over here in the Navamsha, like the 9th cusp is here in Libra, and Mercury is aspecting that. So is Venus. So what would you say about this in terms of like getting into a long-term relationship with something committed and fulfilling for her?
Well, let's see, you're highlighting Mercury Venus on her chart, which happens a little bit after Jupiter goes through that 9th house. But Jupiter in the 9th house is such a wonderful transit.
Yeah.
And that Jupiter is going to be very strong. And Jupiter's ruling Mercury. It's the ruler of Mercury. So it is going to have a strong impact when it's aspecting its own house.
Yes.
So the 9th house is our beliefs and just general fortune. And it also can be a marriage or a husband coming into the picture. It can also be children, which is interesting because look at that Jupiter in her 5th house. And when you look at the dignities, now if we look at in the Saptamsha, it's in a great friend sign.
Right. It's right there.
So, and Jupiter ruling the 5th house in that chart is doing well. The sun is a friend to Jupiter. So, there are some aspects of some things shifting for her. Around at least romance,
Yes.
Something
Yes.
coming in.
So all of her hard work is going to really start paying off for her, and it's already been paying off actually. But yeah, something good is coming here.